Like I felt it, but it wasn't bothering me. So I kept pushing and his head popped out and I could hear him crying, which gave me even more motivation. And Sheila was already there. Jose was there ready to catch him, to receive him. And I pushed one more. I'm not going to say push because honestly, what I learned with hypnobirthing was to breathe. And that's what really helped me a lot with this labor, was actually breathing, because I believe that when in my first pregnancy, I didn't breathe the way I needed to breathe, which I feel like made the labor a little bit harder, because I felt so much easier with this one. I was breathing through everything and I could take it. And so as soon my husband told me, breathe, because I felt myself pushing, and I was like, okay. So as soon as I like took that deep breath and let it out, his body just like slipped out, like nothing, like just slipped out. And I was like, oh my God, this was wonderful. Like,
welcome to the Salt Podcast, where we talk about all things simple. Yep, simple anointed living tips. I'm your host, Jenny Peña. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And I am so excited about recording today with my very own little sister. So thank you, Nicole, for joining me today.
thank you for having me. I'm excited about this.
Okay. It's funny because I'm watching my sister on Zoom trying to get her cat away from her face. So if you hear some scruffing around or babies squealing in the background, either mine or hers, it might happen. But it's all good.
Sorry, he just won't get out of my face. Like, he's never done that. He just wants to be next to me.
He has you all to himself now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he got out of the room and he literally just jumped onto the table and now doesn't want to leave me alone.
That's okay. So today we're going to actually talk about Nicole's home birth experiences. But the first thing that I guess we should cover is a little bit about you for those who haven't really followed us. Team sister. I call Nicole my little minion because she helps me so much with so many things. She's 9 years younger than me. But anyway, I'll let you tell your story. So just, I guess, just tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Murillo. I am 25 years old. And, well, she's my sister. They are, her and my brother are 9 and 10 years older than me. So that was a little different growing up because I basically grew up by myself. They didn't want me around because I was annoying back then.
We were not nice, brother and sister, but we have profusely apologized, and now we're like besties.
Yes, exactly. Once she became a Christian, everything changed, which was wonderful. It was nice to have a sister because before it was like she would have to take me because my mom and dad would force her with her to her friend's house or things like that. So it was a little bit lonely growing up. You know, they had their life and I had, you know, my cousin Amanda, thankfully. But yeah, I was born in Reno, Nevada. I really didn't grow up there because my parents moved us when I was very young. I was about 4 years old when we moved to Miami. So I really didn't experience Reno that much, only on vacations. But I love it there. I hope to move back there one day. If you guys hear, my son just came out. Hold on one second. But sorry. We grew up, we were very close regardless of not being very close with my brother and sister. Like, we went out on a lot of trips. I'm sure you heard from my brother's podcast. We would go out a lot and we would have a lot of family reunions, especially during Christmas time and Thanksgiving. We had like a tradition to go when we were younger to go to Reno for Thanksgiving. I don't know if you remember that, Jenny. Um,
Yeah, of course.
that was the best. That was always so much fun. And then we started growing up, and my sister, she came into faith, and that's when we started getting closer. And she had, I think you moved to New York, right? And then you moved back to Miami again, or to Orlando, and then back to
Yeah.
Miami, Jenny? Is that true?
Yeah,
Is that how it went?
that was one of the last moves that I did to
Okay,
get
yeah.
back home. Yeah, was New York, then Miami. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so once she moved back home, our relationship started to grow, and we started going, she started taking me to her church, and I was already in faith, but not as much as I should have. Like, I never went to church or anything. Like, I did believe there was a God and things like that. Um, but then she started taking me to church, and we started getting closer, and we started doing more things together and having more fun together. And then she met her husband, and she started her whole natural path type of life, which then led her to be pregnant and give birth at home to her three beautiful babies. I was introduced to home birth because of my sister. I really didn't know anything about that. um, and in there about my mom's births, like I feel like or at least I don't remember talking much about that. I feel like my first real experiences or stories about birth was with you, Jenny. I remember maybe once or twice mom talking about hers, or talking about the apatis, but I don't really remember much. I remember mostly just you and stuff like that.
That's
Um,
awesome. That's awesome because
yeah.
I always think about that, and the past conversations that we've had on a few of the episodes that we've released about birth, that we talk about like what are our first experiences or stories that we hear from others about birth. And it's very telling to how our births will turn out, good or bad, because sometimes if people don't face those stories or talk about them, they don't know to explore that for their own childbirth preparation. So it's very cool to hear you say that, because though I've known it kind of, but like we haven't like really talked about it specifically, about how like even how old were you when all of that happened with like having Jasmine in 2012 and all of that.
I was I think I was 15. No,
Jeez.
or 16, 15, because I was still in high school. Yeah, I was young. So I mean, since I was young, I always wanted to be a mom, not like a 16-year-old mom, but a mom. So let me get into my family now. I sorry. I have two beautiful babies, 3.5 years old, and 1.5 month old baby boy. I've had four pregnancies. Unfortunately, I've had two miscarriages. My first two pregnancies led to miscarriage. The first one was very interesting. It happened in Colombia. And I am currently married to my husband. We've been married for almost 4 years. We've been together almost 6 years. I met him. I met him at work. Interestingly enough, he was the cook at Chili's, and I was the hostess slash waitress. Um, so that was an interesting. He's actually 13 years older than me, which is so funny because I know that Rudy is 13 years older than you, Jenny, huh?
Yeah, my husband is also. We like our old
So
men
it we
wise and
like
old.
old. Yes, for me it was always that people my age were just like so immature and not on my level, since because I grew up with a brother and sister that were 10 years older than me. It helped me mature faster and see things a little bit different than people my age do. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my background on my family and how I learned about home birth.
But one thing before we get into your birth experiences, you had a unique experience with being with me while preparing for my births. Well, specifically the first one, especially. No, the first two actually, Jasmine and Noah. But let's talk about Jasmine because you were with me and also postpartum after she was born. You were there, like hands on. So what do you remember about that, like that whole thing?
Well, I remember not getting there on time because you were just so fast. You were so fast. Interesting. Yes, I don't know if you remember that, but that night I was actually sleeping and I was having a dream that my sister had gone into birth, and then a couple minutes later my mom woke me up and was like, "Oh, your sister had the baby." And we rushed over to your house. So that was very interesting. Um uh but it was so nice at that age to just witness all that you went through, and then to be there because I was homeschooled while I was doing virtual school at the time, and so I was able to go over there a lot and actually see you in action and see you breastfeeding and your whole lotus birth, just seeing all of that and having ideas of what my births could be like. So that was really nice. Being so hands-on. I don't think I ever had done that.
Yeah, and actually it was crazy because after everyone got there, yeah, no one was there during our birth, during my birth, well, during my labor, I guess, but afterwards when Sheila got there, our midwife got there, since it was so fast, she didn't bring her assistant, and nobody was there, so you had to help her. Remember?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that was nice. That was cool because I do want to become a midwife. And so it was nice to help her out, assist her, and learn some stuff on how to do things. So that was really awesome to assist Sheila on doing those things.
Yeah, you got to help her with the chart and checking me and holding the light for her and and then weighing the baby and checking the baby, and she had you write things down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was
So,
super cool. It was super cool to help her.
and now, not to get ahead of the story, but now she's your midwife and you've
Yes.
actually worked with her part-time helping her do office work.
Yeah,
So the story
I
didn't
still
end
do. I
there.
still do.
Oh, you
Yeah, I
still do.
know. Yeah, I still do. Not at the moment because I mean, I try to help her, but I'm still getting used to life with two babies, so I'm trying to just figure it out.
That's okay. So, okay. So now that we covered all, I guess, kind of the leading up to, so finally you have a chance to get the okay from your OB after making sure that your progesterone was okay, that you weren't going to miscarry again. And he gave you the okay to transfer care to Sheila, our midwife.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of background on my miscarriages. I don't mind talking about that anymore. So I had my first miscarriage when I was 18, I believe, or 17, something like that. And I didn't know I was pregnant. At the time, I had very irregular periods, so I can have a period basically for a day, and that was it. Or I could um, ¿cómo se dice manchar?
Stain?
I could, yeah, like just like it wasn't like a heavy period, like it would just be like super, super light. And so,
Or like
my boyfriend
spotting?
at spotting, thank you, Neda. At the time, my boyfriend lived in Colombia, and so a week before I went to Colombia, I thought I had gotten my period, but I didn't. So then I went to Colombia and I stayed there for a couple weeks. And during that time, I started bleeding heavily. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting it again. But that was normal for me because I just had such an irregular period that it really didn't phase me. It didn't make me feel like anything was happening. And I really didn't know anything about miscarriages. Like I didn't know how they happened. So like the first 2 days I was bleeding, normal, no pain, nothing, regular cramps. And then the third day, um, my blood got, I was just going through pads like crazy. And then I was having really bad cramps, like really bad. I could not tolerate them, which is very unusual for me. I would have to like curl into a ball and things like that. And then um, all of a sudden I had the need to go to the bathroom and I couldn't get off the toilet. Like every time I tried to get off the toilet, I felt like I needed to get back on the toilet. I don't know if you remember that, Jenny, when you had
Yeah.
Jasmine, the need to go sit on the toilet. So um my boyfriend then, my ex-boyfriend then, he was a nurse. So he kind of knew what was going on, but he didn't tell me anything. And then as I was on the toilet, I felt like something come out of me, and he already knew what had happened. So that wasn't great, and especially in another country, like I wasn't home. I didn't have insurance over there. I didn't have anything, and if you guys know, the health in Colombia is not the greatest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so once that happened, I had really bad pains. I was bleeding a lot, so they took me to the hospital, which was horrible. Um, and then they told me I had a miscarriage, which sucked. And then I came back and had a normal life. I ended up breaking up with him, and then I met my husband. I believe like 6 months later, and we started off together. We moved to Nashville after being together for I think 3 months. I believe that's how it happened.
Oh,
And
wow.
while I yeah, so crazy. But after that, we stayed there almost a year. And towards the end, I believe in November, I ended up getting pregnant. And this time we knew, and we were kind of planning it like we weren't protecting ourselves, and we wanted to have a baby together. Um, and so I got pregnant, and I was very careful. I was like, we caught it early. We found a midwife over there, and we had announced it just to our family, not everybody else, thankfully. And there was doubt in my mind. I was scared. Obviously, I already had one miscarriage, and I was scared that
Mm-hmm.
I was going to have another one. But I kept praying and staying in faith and things like that. And then um, one night I was home alone, and I saw that there was blood. So I called my midwife immediately, and she was like, okay, don't worry. It could just be, from your placenta attaching to the walls. Sometimes blood gets trapped and that comes out. She asked me if I was having any cramping, anything, and I really wasn't. I wasn't at all. But I was still scared. I was petrified. I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Um, so Jose came home with one of his coworkers who's also Christian, and he prayed over us, and that was very sweet of him. It was later that night, it just progressively got worse. The bleeding got heavier, and I started getting cramps, and then I got the need to sit on the toilet again, and then I passed a really big clot, which obviously we all know is a baby. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of sucked. That was that wasn't fun at all. Um,
Yeah.
and then I called my midwife, and she was like, you don't have to go to the hospital unless you feel like you're bleeding a lot or you're in so much pain that you really can't take it. And at the beginning, it wasn't. It was nothing like my first miscarriage. It was very light. Nothing was really painful. But then we went to sleep and it did get painful. So I told Jose we needed to go to the hospital, and we went to the hospital, and there they did not a complete DNC, because they were able to do they were able to get everything. They had to get clots out because I had a lot of clots. So they had to get all of those clots out of my body, which that was actually really painful. And sad at the same time, obviously. And then they let me know as well that I had a miscarriage, and thankfully it was a complete miscarriage where they didn't have to go in, like, because I think that it's more invasive when it's not a complete miscarriage. So thankfully I had completely passed everything. But that happened, and then we decided to move back because I did fall into a little bit of depression. Everything made me sad. I couldn't see any commercials, like any baby commercials. I would just start bawling. I think this one was different because I knew I was pregnant and we really wanted this baby. Not that I didn't want the first baby, but I didn't know the first baby, you know? So this one was very different. And so we decided to come back, and we moved back to Miami, and we miscarried in November, and we came back to Miami in February. And by then I had to go to the doctor, to the gynecologist, because I had my annual checkup. So, and the day I went to the gynecologist, I was supposed to get my period, because after my first miscarriage, I actually started having regular periods where I could track them, which was great. So that day I was supposed to get my period, and you know, periods come whenever they want. You know, it's not like they come, oh, today's the day in the morning. No, they come whenever they want during the day. And so that day I went into the doctor, and, you know, the gynecologist, always when you go, they do the pregnancy test before anything. And so the nurse comes in, she starts asking me questions. I tell her about my miscarriage. She's like, oh, is there any chance you could be pregnant? And I was like, no, I don't think so. I had a miscarriage a couple months ago. And so she took my weight, she took my pressure, and then she came back because she had gone to, I guess, check the pregnancy test. And she comes back and she's like, how long ago did you have your miscarriage? And I told her, and she's like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to do anything today. And I was like, why? I was like, okay, why? She's like, because you're pregnant. And I'm like, what? I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I was like, I didn't even know it was possible to become pregnant so close after a miscarriage. And so since they knew my background, since I had told them about like the previous miscarriages and things like that, they did an ultrasound that same day, and I was 6 weeks pregnant.
Oh my
So they
goodness.
they caught it super early. Thank God. They caught it super early. They did blood work, they did everything. And what they found in the blood work was that I had really low progesterone. And if you don't know what that is, progesterone is what carries your pregnancy it's like a hormone that carries your pregnancy in the beginning until the placenta takes over. Once the placenta takes over, you're more in the clear. So my gynecologist told me that could be why I was miscarrying, because I had very low progesterone. So he immediately put me on progesterone supplements, and I was getting ultrasounds every single week just to make sure that everything was okay. And then when I turned, I believe, 10 weeks, he gave me the clear because he knew that I wanted to do a home birth, and he was totally supportive. He never once belittled me or was like, oh, you're crazy. No, he was super nice about it. He was like, okay, that's perfectly fine. And he gave me the clear, and I was able to go with Sheila. And I kept using the progesterone with her, just to be safe. You never know. And then finally she told me to stop using it. I guess because the placenta was already formed and things like that. And It was scary though, because with that pregnancy, I did bleed. But this time it was the placenta. They took me into an ultrasound and it was the placenta. Everything was fine. The baby was fine. They heard the heartbeat. It was just the placenta that had attached and caused me to bleed a little bit. So, but that was scary, of course.
Yeah, that must have been such a relief.
Yeah, it was such a relief. And once I got to 16 weeks and week and week and week, I was like, oh my God, thank you, Lord, for, giving me this pregnancy and everything is fine. And so I had already known from the beginning when I got pregnant that I wanted to do a home birth. I never ever thought about doing a birth in a hospital. I don't like hospitals as it is. So knowing that there was another option made it so much better. And so I had my home birth. He was born November 7th. Oh my God, I forgot my own kids. November 6th. Sorry. November 6th of 2017. He was born very early in the morning. My children like to come very early in the morning, which is funny because my husband always said with both of my pregnancies, he's like, I hope they don't come early in the morning. I want them to come during the day. And both of them decided to come early in the morning.
Aw, that's so sweet
so
though.
funny.
I remember when it was perfect actually because when they called me to tell me that you were in labor, it was like perfect timing because I was in
Yeah.
UAE and it was like I think I think afternoon, like yeah, like around 2 or 3 o'clock my time. And it was like your late night, early morning, I think, right?
Yeah. My water broke at 11, I believe 11:30, something like that. Which is so funny because Jose, that whole day he was. I oddly enough, I went into labor Sunday night with my firstborn, and then I went into labor Sunday night with my second. Isn't
Oh,
that funny?
really?
Yeah. So they
Yeah,
were
that's
they were
awesome.
both born on Mondays. But yeah,
Aw,
my
that's so
water
sweet.
broke at 11:30 Sunday night, and my husband that whole day was like, "Oh, you're acting so weird." And that night he was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I don't know about you guys, but when people ask me, "Are you okay?" and I'm fine, it makes me annoyed. Like I get annoyed. So I was like, "Yes, I'm fine." And then I was like, "Good night," and we turned over. And as I turned over, and to my side, all I felt was like a balloon popping inside of me. And I was like, I literally was like, oh, my water just broke. And he jumped because he was on the other side. He jumped over me, and it was just so funny, how everything happened. It was so funny.
So let's backtrack a little bit because you talked about getting ready for your pregnancy with the OB and then getting the okay to go with Sheila. But what other
Mhm.
things besides, taking the progesterone, how else did you prepare like for birth? And what kinds of things did you do that were different? Um, that would be out of the norm for like mainstream.
So one of the things we didn't do, and I just personally didn't think it was necessary. We didn't take any prenatal vitamins or anything like that. I mean, we did take vitamins throughout my pregnancy. As you all know, or if you don't know, we are part of Young Living and we use all of their products, including their vitamins, their supplements. So we never really took like any like one of how I don't know in movies they show those big prenatal vitamins. Like we never took anything like that. It was always when I was with the doctor at the beginning, he did give me some, and boy were they big. I was like, oh my God, how do people swallow these pills? Like I couldn't. I was like, there's no way that that's going down my throat. Like it scares me as it is to swallow regular sized pills, and I was not about to swallow that pill. That thing was so big. So we never did that. We just took, regular vitamin B and vitamin C and things like that just to make sure I was fine. But we never did like the prenatal vitamins. Um, We also used essential oils throughout my whole pregnancy. We made sure to stay away from the ones that you shouldn't use while you're pregnant. Thankfully, I had you to help me through that, to give me the right ones, on which ones to use and which ones to have and which ones not to use at the moment. So that was nice. You know what, though? I really don't remember really well what I did with my first pregnancy. It was all such a
What
blur.
about birth classes?
Oh, yes, yes. I did birthing from within, which was wonderful. We did it with
Linda.
um Linda, thank you. We did it with Linda, and it oddly enough, it's funny because my sister did it with Linda, and I had gone to one of the classes with my sister while she was pregnant. Was it with Jasmine Jennier?
I think with both you
Yeah.
went there.
With
So with birthing from within and the class with Linda, there's it's a 6 weeks childbirth course, and one of the days you bring in your birth team, like one or
mhm.
two people that are going to be in there with you. So
Yeah.
I think you and mom came, or you and Rudy came um, with
I think all three of us went, honestly.
I think you all three went, actually, now that you say
Yeah.
that. I think you all three went both times with
Yeah.
Jasmine and Noah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did birthing from within, and that was wonderful. And it was nice because mom ended up coming to one of the classes as well. I think she had to replace Jose because Jose couldn't go that day. Um, but it was so good, like, to actually be through all the classes, because I had only witnessed one of the classes, and it just prepares you so well in such a different way, because usually people take what is it called, Lamaze classes or things like that. So I feel like a lot of people don't have the information that there's other types of classes out there. Like, you can take different types of birthing classes. Like, there's not just one, and not one fits all. Like, you have to
Right.
try different ones, have different resources in your tool belt, to help you through this birthing process. And I learned a lot from birthing from within. Like, it really helped me through my first birth, and even my second birth, because I still used some of the stuff that I learned from birthing from within in my second birth. In my second birth, I did hypnobirthing, so that was great too.
To get both of those, um,
To get, yeah,
yeah, the what you need, what it is that
yes,
you need from each of them, and what it is that you need to take into each birth experience with you from each of them. So that was kind of
yes,
cool to see you go through that. And just for the listeners, um, Birthing from Within, episode 12 with Gabi Peso, we talk about birthing from within, why is it different, what it looks like, and all those things. Just to throw that in there in case you're like gonna go search for it. We did cover one episode about that. So, but another thing that you did was prepare spiritually, which for me, that's a huge thing when I talk to pregnant women about their faith and their trust and believing this,
yeah,
that you can do this. And I feel like you had a really strong faith, but also I feel like maybe on the outside, people were like kind of worried about you because you're so young, and they thought, oh, maybe
yeah.
you're just trying to do this because your big sister did it, and like worried that maybe it's not the safest thing to do. Like everybody that hears about home birth, that's what they believe anyway. But I think because you're the baby sister and it was your first time, that kind of played a little bit too, and like preparing spiritually to make sure like you were strong and bold in saying I am gonna do this.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was very strong in faith. At the moment, I was going to a church, G12, and they were all so supportive, honestly. That church was great. We went every Sunday, throughout my whole pregnancy. Even the Sunday that I went into birth, we had gone to church that day. And it was just so
Mhm.
beautiful. Like, being there and worshiping and hearing the word of God and just growing my faith, because I never really went to church like that. Like, yeah, we went to church together, but sorry, that church was kind of boring compared to the church that I was at the moment. So it was so nice to like go every Sunday, go and worship and hear and learn how to pray and ask, for forgiveness and ask for help, and, just grow stronger in my faith, and, seeing my belly grow throughout the process too, throughout my faith and everything. And yeah, like you said, I did have some encounters where people thought I was crazy, or, that I was doing the wrong thing, or that I was too young, that how could I get pregnant so young? Because I think I was, he's gonna be 4. I turned 21 the 3 months after he was born. 21?
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So one of the people was actually, I ended up having to go to a hospital. I think I was about 34 weeks pregnant, and I had to go to the hospital because I started getting contractions. And I was so freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what the heck is going on? So I ended up going to a hospital in Homestead, because that's where we lived at the time in Miami. And they were just so rude. It was the worst experience ever. They were so mean. Like, I'm here having contractions. I'm 34 weeks. And they're like, oh, just so you know, if you do go into labor, we don't have, you would have to be transferred anyways. And we were like, okay, thanks. Like, what the heck? And then they were like, oh, who's your physician? And I was like, I don't have one. I am doing home birth with my midwife. Oh my God, that opened a can of worms. Like, these nurses, these 2 ladies were just so rude. They were like, do you know the death rate and blah, 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 and telling me like how dangerous it was to have a home birth, and like just insulting me. And the whole time I stayed cool. And what sucked was that I wasn't with my husband. My husband was working, so he was on his way over. And I was like, yes, I know, I understand the risk, but I even questioned them. I was like, do you know the risks of having births at a hospital? Because they are higher in death rates and cesareans here in the hospitals than they are at home. I'm more safe at home, so thank you very much. And then they were like, oh, where's your midwife? Why isn't your midwife here? And I was like, I was so annoyed. Like, I didn't say anything. I stayed quiet. I didn't even answer her because she was such a bee. Sorry. But in my head, like, I was like, would you even allow her to be here? Because I'm more than positive that you guys would not even let her in the room. So that's why she's not here. She's the one that told me to go to the hospital, because she knows that it's out of her. She can't really do anything at 34 weeks. She was like, just go to the hospital. So I was just so annoyed the whole time. I was like, thanks for making this experience horrible and assuring me that this is not what I want to do. And so they could.
Just so another little snippet. Nicole talks about this whole story. You wrote a whole blog post on heavenlytreasure.net. So in the sidebar or in the About Us is where Nicole's all her blog posts, because I think you've written quite a few over the years in there. Even your birth story, I think, her miscarriage experiences. So if you want to get a little bit more detail and see her stories are all in there. I could probably link them actually in the episode notes as well. Hey, it's me, just taking a quick sec to let you know about the Pink Premium Access. Get the link for access in the show notes or heavenlytreasure.net, where you can choose monthly or yearly access options. You will get all the uncut gems hidden from the Salt podcast, plus exclusive episodes, promos from guests, Ask Me Anything episodes, and private group Zoom calls for Access members only. Sorry to hide these next gems from you. See you in the Pink Premium, and thanks for helping me keep the show alive and running. Oh man, Nicole, I wish I could be there. I cried like a baby. I cried like a baby.
I know.
when the baby was born, and just wishing and just seeing, yeah, my aunt being there for you. Oh, even right now I want to cry because I was like just imagining myself, like if I was there, I'd be the one to get to do that. But
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that that God took care of you and that He provided everyone around you to be with you. And even though I haven't been able to be there for any of your births, I'm just grateful that you had such an amazing experience, and that you didn't have any complications. You never needed stitches.
No,
And
no, never. That was
yeah,
great. That was one of the best things. I never needed stitches, not with the first one, not with the second one. It was so great. But yeah, Cristina was such a big help, honestly. She was one of the big ones. I was like, she was like on top of it. Every time I got a contraction, she was there giving me a massage, like putting pressure on my back. And it was, let me tell you, it was so helpful. I didn't think that that was going to be such a helpful thing, but it was. And I am so grateful that she was there. I'm beyond grateful to God that He provided the team that I had there, because everybody had a role and everybody did their best. And, it was such an amazing experience, because I felt like I knew what I was doing. And with this labor, with my second, I felt so much more in control, and I felt so much more prepared. And I listened to my body. I let my body do what it needed to do. And that's how it went. And I didn't get any premature pushing. Like, I just listened to my body. Like, with my first one, my midwife was very hands-on. She was very there. She was there the whole time, just watching me and making sure everything was okay. But with this one, she just let me do my thing. And it was so great, because it made me feel so much more empowered, because I was like, I started getting the need to push, but in my head, I was like, dang, is this premature pushing again? Or is this really when I can push? And it wasn't premature pushing. Like, she only checked me once, and thank God, I don't know. Well, you didn't get to experience that, but usually in hospitals, they're like, oh, you're like this much dilated, blah, 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 blah. But with her, she never told me how dilated I was. And I'm so grateful that she didn't, because I feel like that really is such a psychological thing. Once you know how dilated you are, you're like, oh, dang, I'm only 5 and I've been in labor for like 12 hours, and that, I feel like that doesn't help. And so I'm so thankful that she never in any moment told me how dilated I was. And the only time she checked me, she was like, okay, if you feel like pushing, you can, but if you can hold it, that's fine too. So it was like, I guess I was like in between. And then at one moment I got really nauseous, and I was in the pool, and I was like, oh, I need to throw up. So they took me out of the pool, and I went to the bathroom, and I didn't throw up like heavy. Like, it was just like, that saliva that comes out. But
yeah.
I guess that motion, that gagging, I guess it helps you dilate. I don't know the science behind it, but I guess it helps you dilate. And so that was nice, because yeah, of course, contractions are strong and they hurt. So that gagging and all of that actually puts your mind off of the contraction. So it kind of gives you a break. And so I went through one contraction on the toilet, like sitting on the toilet facing that box thing in the back. And that was probably the worst contraction I had. Honestly, it was the strongest one. I literally like held onto a wall, like tight, and like just went through it. And because my midwife Sheila told me, she's like, okay, let's have some contractions here. And then after that contraction, I was like, nope, I want to get off this toilet. I don't want to be here. I was so set in my mind that I did not want to be there. I was like, nope, 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 I don't want to be on this toilet. That was horrible. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of the bathroom. So as I was walking back to the pool, I had another contraction, like in the middle of the hall. And I was like, oh, this one sucks. And then as I was going, after that one, I went back, and then at the corner of the pool, I had another contraction. And that contraction, like, I just listened to my body. And in that moment, I needed to squat. Like, my body was like, squat, like, get down, like, get down. And so I did, and I felt like pushing. So I started pushing. And then, you only push when you have the contractions. And then I had another one, but at that point I was kneeling because they were going to check my blood pressure, and they were going to check the heart rate. And so I was like, I'm not going to be squatting because, I'm heavy as heck. I have like a big baby inside of me squatting. So I kneeled down, and they did it. And as they were checking my blood pressure, I got another contraction and my water broke. I was like, as I was in the middle of my contraction, my water breaks. And I was like, I like stopped, like if I wasn't having a contraction, and I was like, oh, my water broke. And it was just so funny. After I had the baby, I was like, I literally just stopped, like if but my contraction was still going. So um, my water had broke, and then they were like, okay, let's get into the pool, because the contraction was over. There's like, okay, let's get into the pool. And I was like, as I was standing up, I was holding I had my hand down there, and as I was standing up, I got another contraction. I was like, nope, Sheila, he's here. Like I could feel his head. I was like, he's here. And I kneeled back down, and I started pushing, and all I felt was his head. Like I felt that little burning sensation, but it didn't like hurt like the ring of fire. Like I felt it, but it wasn't bothering me. So I kept pushing, and his head popped out, and I could hear him crying, which gave me even more motivation. And Sheila was already there. Jose was there, ready to catch him, to receive him. And I pushed one more. I'm not going to say push, because honestly, what I learned with hypnobirthing was to breathe. And that's what really helped me a lot with this labor, was actually breathing, because I believe that when in my first pregnancy, I didn't breathe the way I needed to breathe, which I feel like made the labor a little bit harder, because I felt so much easier with this one. I was breathing through everything, and I could take it. And so as soon my husband told me, breathe, because I felt myself pushing, and I was like, okay. So as soon as I like took that deep breath and let it out, his body just like slipped out, like nothing, like just slipped out. And I was like, oh my God, this was wonderful. Like it did not hurt. It didn't feel like my first one. Like it felt so easy. Like it felt so great. And he was a crier from the beginning, and it felt, so nice. Like I was just so calm, and I knew what I was doing, and I felt so empowered, because I have videos of both of them. But if you see me in the first one, after I pushed my baby out, I was like so like in shock and like excited, and I was just making so much noises. And then you see my second birth, and I'm just so like, you can tell in my face like how in tune I am, and like I know what I'm doing. Like I was so quiet and just in the zone, basically. And it was just so wonderful to see the difference between both of my births. It was wonderful. I'm so happy with how everything turned out.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Yeah. And then
Praise
honestly, one of the biggest things that I told my birth team, I was like, I want this song playing when I'm gonna give birth. And hearing that song, it's called The Blessing. Carrie, I forgot her last name, Carrie Joby or something like that, and Elevation Church and Elevation Worship are the ones that did that song. It was playing in the background, and I could hear it as I'm bringing him out, and I feel like that even empowered me more. Like feeling that song and hearing it, like it helped me more. Like I could hear it in the background, like if I was in my own little movie, basically. Like I cleared everybody out. Like I couldn't hear anybody else except the song and my body. And it was just such a beautiful moment. I feel like I connected to God in such a different way. And it was just so wonderful. It was just so wonderful to feel that.
If you could tell listeners, women who aren't completely 100% convinced or sure to even explore home birth, what would you say to them?
I would tell them, I would just be like, like if you're a woman in faith, just pray about it and really listen. And if you have any doubt in your mind that you shouldn't be doing it in a hospital, then listen to that voice, listen to your voice, and listen to your voice of reason, because it's there for a reason. And that's God talking to you and telling you, try something different. Even just interview a midwife, see the different options. And sometimes you don't even have to do it at home. There's birth centers that give you that same experience. And, it's okay to go away from the norm. I know everybody's constantly saying, oh, you have to do it in a hospital, but that's not true. You can do it. There are different ways, and it may seem scary, but man, these midwives are so prepared for anything, like so prepared. Like, they know what they're doing. They've had the training. It's not like they're in school for 6 months. They're trained for 3 years in school to make sure that they know what they're doing. And even after that, they're with experienced midwives to go through the thing. So just pray about it. Pray, and interview a midwife and see if that's the right thing for you, because you never know. You can have the best birth experience ever at home. And for me, it was just the comfort of being in my own home and knowing that it was clean, knowing where everything was, and knowing that I didn't have to see my baby go away after I gave birth. No, knowing that as soon as I gave birth to him, I can lay down in my own bed and stay in my own house. Like that just made me feel more at peace. So it's just thinking about all those things, and what's best for you. And if at the end of the day you do choose to do a hospital, that's fine too. It's about I feel for me, like it's about feeling empowered and feeling in control of your own birth and what you're doing, not letting other people dictate what you need to do, because they don't know. You need to do what's right for you.
That is awesome. I love that. And I pray for everyone listening to this. If it is on your heart, listen to what Nicole just said and just go for it. Just call and make interviews, and just pray about it. Thank you so much, Nicole. I guess just the last thing, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, Nicole.Murillo. Oh shit, I don't even know my Instagram handle, but I'll send it to you and maybe you can link it in your notes. But I'm on Instagram. I am trying to make my own webpage where I'm going to be blogging and doing different things on there. So once we have that up, I'll probably post it on Instagram so that people can connect with me there.
All right. Perfect. And yes, Nicole also is connected on my website because we did team up on it for a while. So she does have posts on there, as I mentioned before. And her info is on the About Us page on heavenlytreasure.net. And stay tuned for her website. I've been so excited. I want to work on it so bad. But thank you so much, Nicole, for taking time from your family to tell us your story.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was awesome. I've never been on a podcast and never on your podcast, so that's great. I feel like a celebrity.
You are. All right, Nicole, have a good day. I love you.
You too. I love you too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening in. Be sure to hit subscribe and visit heavenlytreasure.net for more. See you on IG at Heavenly Treasure Living. Till next time, blessings, and remember to be the salt of the earth.